What's good, everyone, and welcome back to Kaya's Commentary. And if you're new here, welcome to Kaya's Commentary. This is a podcast that offers commentary on pop culture topics, real world issues, and anything in between. So, we are at episode 12 of my 13-part series, Picture This, where I look at Black, Indigenous, people of color representation in the media of past and how that affects their presence in the science fiction family fantasy genres of today. In the last episode, we talked about Disney's The Acolyte. In today's episode, we are talking about Fox's Sleepy Hollow. As I've mentioned, I have talked about this before, and I won't take those videos down because I won't hide the fact that I've talked about those. I've talked about this before, and that I have had a certain opinion about it. However, I hope that me putting this at the end and reviewing all the other shows as objectively as I can shows that I can be objective with shows that I like or with characters that I'm drawn to, right? So Sleepy Hollow was really a large reason for me wanting to do this, that and the Vampire Diaries and, Merlin's BBC's Merlin, right? And so because it is such a show that could make or break what I'm trying to, pose about how Black people, people of color, um, get treated or are reacted to in fantasy and science fiction spaces, I felt it important to add it. Um, like I said, I promise to be as objective as I can. This is not from a fan side, so I am not going to be like talking about Katrina, even though, Katrina, I don't hate Katrina, right? I don't hate Katrina. Now I will mention the shipping a bit, but not from a shipper point of view, right? In comparisons with other shows, rather like The X-Files and um, Fox's Netflix's Lucifer. Um, and then as far as the characters, because I had wanted to do a range of characters outside of Abby, including Jenny and Frank and Andy and Daniel Reynolds and Grace, I couldn't find a lot of, reaction. A lot of when you look this stuff up, it boils down to the death of this character led to the end of this show, and this show's killing off of this character, So it really kind of molds around that. That already shows how important of a character that she was. But what I can do is talk about, the reactions that I was seeing in real time, watching this in real time, and what I felt, the ways that their writing of that character went. So let's get into it. Sleepy Hollow is a 2013 to 2017 fantasy drama show. It is a mix between Rip Van Winkle, Washington Irving's Rip Van Winkle, and Sleepy Hollow. Um, so it has two people, and it is on the basis of these two specific people that they will come together and defend humanity against the evils of the world and like a 7-year trial and tribulation. So we see Ichabod Crane fighting on the battlefield on the American War, the American Revolution battlefield for the Patriots. He was once a British officer, but Katrina and Cicero made him switch sides and question what was good. So he switches sides and now he fights for the Patriots, but he gets cut down by a masked Hessian. So before he dies, because this Hessian slashes him across the chest, before he dies, he takes the Hessian's head, thus creating the Headless Horseman. And their bloods merge on this battlefield and they basically link. So Katrina, his wife, also a witch, she puts a spell on him, puts him in a slumber, buries him in a cave. He wakes up like 250 years later in 2013's Sleepy Hollow. Um, where we meet Abby Mills and her partner, Sheriff August Corbin, who gets beheaded by the Headless Horseman. And it's almost like he knows that the Headless Horseman is coming for him. He knew something that we didn't know that he knew at the time. So he gets beheaded and Crane comes running out looking all disheveled, and so they take him in and he has to adjust, and Abby's like, slavery's been over for 250 years, however many 50 whatever years. I am a black female lieutenant. You keep sassing me and I will use this gun on you. That's comical. Also, he has to adjust to modern life, like being in a car with the windows, women wearing trousers. And so because she's so intrigued by this and she wants to know what happened to her partner, who was her mentor, she takes him to the cave where he wakes up in. They find a Bible, George Washington's Bible, but it has like 7 or 10 added verses in the book of Revelations, and it speaks to two specific witnesses, who will be brought together to fight the forces of evil. And so, another beheading happens, and the Headless Horseman beheads Reverend Knapp, who's a warlock in Crane's time. We also see Captain Frank Irving, played by Orlando Jones, come in, and he is Abby's superior now. So, in the end, we find out that Headless is looking for his head, and once he does, he'll become whole, and he'll find the other three horsemen of the apocalypse, and when they ride together, hell on earth. So, stop him from getting his head. Abby and Crane do. It's all good, but we also see this creature, this demon in the woods. We later find out his name is Moloch, and he's the big baddie of the season, right? So that's really episode one, and then episode two, and Abby's still, despite everything she's seen in one, a little hesitant. It takes her several episodes to fully come in. We also have Frank Irving. He is brought in a couple episodes later, like into the whole world of it. Before he's brought in, he gives them entirely too much leeway. For some of the cases they would bring in him. We also have Abby's sister Jenny, played by Lindy Greenwood. She and Abby saw this demon in the woods when they were kids. Abby told her not to say anything. She said something. So she got locked up in several different insane asylums over the years, and Abby remains out. So there's tension there, and they have to overcome that, and they do. Um, and the show ends with Katrina, we're trying to pull her out of purgatory because she can help stop the second horseman of war from rising. But she actually can't stop the second horseman of war from rising because it's Henry, who we thought was his helpful senator. He absorbs you of your sins and sanctifies you, but he's also Jeremy Crane, and he's also the horseman of war. And so Abby is now trapped down in purgatory. Crane is trapped in a pine box. Jenny is Headless as captive, and Katrina is Headless as captive. Season one, largely by the fandom, is considered the best season. Then we get to season two, and a lot of white characters begin to come in. We have Holly. Um, Headless gets his head. He's Abraham Van Brunt, and he gets more of a role, and I'm not even mad at that. That's not a bad thing. Katrina gets more of a role, also not fully a bad thing. It's just the way that they did it. They pit her in this like love triangle between Abraham and Crane, and so it's ping ponging. There's a lot of drama. She's trying to save Abraham and Henry because she feels guilty, and that causes tensions between Abby because she's like, these are my problems. They wreaking havoc on the world. They don't want to be saved. Don't save them. They don't want to be saved. So that causes issues, and it's just really like doubling down on the whiteness and pushing characters like Abby and Jenny and Frank Irving, who at the end of season one confesses to a crime he didn't commit to save his daughter. He's now thrown in jail, and then he's thrown in an insane asylum, and then we don't see him, and then he sells his soul to Henry accidentally, and he becomes like this prop, this tool. At the end of season two, they kill off Katrina and they kill off Henry, and then season three is a bit of a revamp. There is no horsemen anymore. We're instead dealing with Pandora of the Sumerian mythos and her husband, the ever abusive husband, the hidden one. And they talk about doing a lot of evil things, but they don't actually really. Season three doesn't move much, but you watched it anyway. Um, and probably I said all that to say, I had to give a little overview more than I would for the other shows. I said all that to say, probably in one of the most notorious network TV deaths, Abby Mills died. She sacrificed herself in season one in Purgatory, but it was to face Moloch. So then she sacrificed herself in season two to stop Katrina, who's now evil, going back in time to when she's just pregnant with Henry and killing Crane and then living with her baby off somewhere. And now she sacrificed herself for one final time to Pandora's box, because it needs the essence of a witness to refuel itself. And so she is gone, and there's this disjointed montage to prove that she's gone, and her soul lives on in another person, and it has to be somebody through her bloodlines. And yeah, it gets really messy. So let's get into all that to say the um commentary around her death. Now, a lot of the narratives that I'm going to read are, in fact, people who were upset about her death. But there also is pushback, so I want to kind of start with the pushback anyway. So, this particular person, M3RC underscore Nate, says, sorry, but the narrative was going to be clear from this article when you look at the name of the source, blackgirlsnerds.com. Really? Now, blackgirlsnerds.com posted a piece talking about the death of Abby Mills and how it felt disrespectful. So they're responding to that. Get your stuff straight. The actress wanted out. You can try and twist it like the writers wanted to get rid of the black female lead and then did so, and the actress would have happily played the part until the series ended, but that isn't true at all. Nicole Bahari wanted out, and the show is highly likely to be canceled anyway. Why wouldn't she want out? The show is on the cusp of getting canceled the past two seasons. The quality of the show is down. She is a highly talented actress with a bright future ahead of her. Why wouldn't she want out to get cast in a movie or a new show that can be watched by more viewers and be a smash hit? Ironically, if the show got renewed, it would be hilarious if the showrunner cast another black actress to replace her. I mean, I actually think they'd have to. In the finale, they mentioned that the second witness had to be blood related to Mills. My point being that this site and others started lighting pitchforks because a black female was killed off. But if she was replaced by another black female actress, what were you so angry about? I was gonna put that in the bordering on offensive, but reading that last part, offensive. Offensive. You can't just replace one black actress with another and think that people are gonna like it's more than killing. It's not just the killing of black. And mind you, this was in a time Sleepy Hollow started where, a lot of fantasy shows, BBC's Merlin, Gwen was a lead, but also her development with Arthur wasn't as developed as it could have been. And then when she gets to her queendom, they kind of silence her. Bonnie from the Vampire Diaries, saving everybody, but is treated both on screen and behind the cameras as an afterthought, right? Abby Mills comes in a time where there just isn't all that much representation, especially for a darker skinned black woman to be the lead and to be so important to the show. They bill her as one of two witnesses, two specific people meant to, you know, fight this, two specific people. And now you're telling us that this person has done what they meant to do, and it's all about Crane, and it was Crane's journey, and this black woman serves Crane. Her whole purpose in life, even though she's finally getting the things that she want out of life, she's reconciled with her father. She's got her career. She's getting, the guy. She's in a relationship. All the things that are coming into place for her and are still coming into place for her. She's been told by Crane, either we're victorious or defeated together. She's been told by her other ancestors, you are the one that's going to go where we didn't. All of her ancestors have been killed doing this, but she was the one who was destined, written in stone, to say that she was the one that was going to make it. And then all of a sudden, it's this black woman who, at this point, Abby is very attractive in the show anyway, and of course in real life, but we see this with several men. Andy has a unrequited crush on her. Crane is hinted to have crush on her. There's a character of Calvin. People say Orion was flirty with her. Daniel, he's brought in to be a love interest and then doesn't get that billing until like the later half of the show. So she's not really, she becomes this asexual being. She can't be romantically involved. And then, panels are saying that she doesn't need to be defined by romance and she doesn't have to have a love interest. She can be badass all on her own. And then you have a badass witch like Katrina who's defined by her love, and we're supposed to root for her so much in season two. She's defined by her love, her romantic love. Crane is attractive and he's getting all this attention. Abby's getting this attention, but not getting this attention. So you see, I'm kind of setting up the mammy stereotype. She's not plus size, but she's a darker skinned woman. She's being asexualized. She's serving the white man. She tells him that my job was to carry you forward. But this show started with two people, two specific people who were supposed to stay together, who were supposed to be victorious or defeated together. And now she's giving up her life for this person because that is what she was meant to do. So it's not just that they killed her, it is how they killed her. So no, you can't just bring in another black actress and then be like, see, they're not racist. They brought in another black actress. The actress just wanted to leave. Why did the actress want to leave? Well, in her Miss Juneteenth press tour, she would speak about her 2016 exit. Um, this is from Deadline. She says, my co-star and I were both sick at the same time, but I don't believe that we got treated equally. He was allowed to go back to England for a month to recover while I was given episode 9 to shoot on my own. So I pushed through it, and then by the end of that episode, I was in urgent care. And all the doctors, including the doctors that the studios were sending, were saying, hey, she couldn't work right now. She goes on to say that, they sent these doctors and I had to do daily checkups to make sure that I was really actually sick. And when the doctors told her that she needed rest, Bahari added, that is not what they wanted to hear. So she goes on to say there's a lot of pressure in a situation like that where so many people are relying on you alone to get up and get going. So I felt like it's taken me the last few years to really clearly see that it wasn't personal. It's about the way that these structures are set up. It was very difficult to talk about it at the time because I wanted to get back to work, but I was labeled as problematic and blacklisted by some people. So she wanted to leave because she and her co-star got sick and she did not feel that they were getting fair treatment. So it's not just she wanted out so she could go do another show. So all of that is offensive. And I don't buy that she's a highly talented young actress with a bright future ahead of her. Because your last statement just basically says that, she's easily replaceable and, it relies too much on. So offensive. And that was 70 minutes. To respond to this, Pokes Polkaspot says, to be fair, part of why she wanted out again was because the showrunners treated like crap. They sidelined her story in favor of Ichabod's and his family drama for the last two seasons. She had to beg the show's Twitter to follow her, even though they were following the main actors and even though following the main actors is common practice, they also forgot to invite her to the DVD commentary for season 2. How did you forget to invite your protagonist to the DVD commentary? Of course she wanted out. They treated her like crap. Also, there are a lot of ways to write a character out. You don't have to kill them. Um, and then another says, the chaotic messiah says, also, there are a lot of ways to write a character out. You don't have to kill him. Here in the UK, if an actor wants out, the writers don't want to recast the character. A common practice in soaps, the character is generally killed off. I've not heard the rest of what you said, so I can't comment on that. But in all honesty, as a viewer, Ichabod's story was more interesting anyway and seemed to be the main focus from the beginning. So, to Pokes the Spot's comment, yes, that happened. She had posted something years ago and it's now since deleted. And she was like, hey, at Sleepy Hollow, don't I deserve a follow? And then we find out that she didn't get invited to do the DVD commentary. We're already setting up, not great environment in the back. So to Chaotic Messiah's comment about um it being Ichabod's story, who was way more interesting. I disagree, and I'm gonna put it in slightly offensive. But I disagree. This show, and honestly, to be completely honest with you, I disagree with people who say that it was also solely Abby's show. Now you could watch the show for Abby, but this show was about these two people, these two specific people coming together. But I do feel that Crane coming to Abby's time makes it more about like his re interactions with her, right? And them in a life together, be it friendship or romance, whatever, but them in a life together, right? If it was his story, why feel the need to bring him out of the past to the present? That is my biggest issue with people who say that it was Crane's story. Like, why bring him out of the past to the present? Um, let's see. Others say Ray Cole says, "Amen. Tom Mison is the show. They could put his Ichabod with practically anyone, and there would be amazing chemistry. Abby's death was just the shake up this show needs. People need to get over their ridiculous temper tantrums, bordering on offensive because you are ignoring or just not really realizing the implications of killing off a black character in such a way." Also, she I do agree that Tom Mison's Ichabod Crane solidifies itself. He did that one, but I don't agree that his chemistry. Now you could argue that the show was already on out by season four, but there was a notable chemistry change. They just weren't having it. Um, Josh says, "I'm sorry, but this is complete garbage. These new writers didn't fix a damn thing. They killed off one of the main characters that was an intricate part of the show. Now her spirit lives on in another person. Sounds like they found a way to get rid of Nicole to get a new leading lady, but keep Abby's presence. I don't like this. I love Sleepy Hollow, but I can't watch after this. This is bull. R.I.P. Sleepy Hollow." We'll put it in that middle ground. It's not like completely positive, like critically. Um, it just speaks more of, to that overall environment. Um, Whew. I thought about this one, but let's go ahead because this is really what's going to embody, people's opinions. And then we'll move on because we're already 21 minutes in. Lexicon Conspira says, "It's funny how so many people, and yes, I'm gonna say it, white people, seem in instinctively seem to instinctively toe the line and shout, 'She, they wanted to leave the show.' From show to show, no matter how glaringly repetitive, the pattern of black actors, actresses dropping dead, being marginalized as the best friend, the bad guy, the prostitute, and the sacrifice, the Vampire Diaries and Bonnie, and Sleepy Hollow with Abby Mills, or some other trope or some other trope. 90% of white viewers of said shows will say she wanted to leave the show. Notice none of these people ask, why didn't Crane offer himself up as a sacrifice? And I want to break here because that would have so been Crane. That would have been Crane. In season two, Abby is running out after Irving dies. Abby is running out trying to go look at Irving's body. This man in front of his wife come up behind her, hand on her waist, pulling her to his back, head bowed in her shoulders, all the things that this man ain't supposed to be doing in this time in front of his wife. What do you mean she passes by in front of you to sacrifice herself? I'm so sorry. I will always die on this hill that the true canon is her going to run because yes, she is a sacrificial Negro. Her going to run, Crane stopping her. She's like, "Crane is one of us. I gotta do it." And he's like, "I know, it is one of us." He kisses her, he tells her he loves her, and then he goes. That's canon. He would have done it. Like the Crane of season two would not have let, and I'm not even saying they're all that different. I'm just saying like he wouldn't have. So definitely. Um, or how many times are the Sleepy Hollow writers going to make Abby sacrifice herself 4 or 5 times in this show? This is not some new phenomenon in writing, and any viewer who is honest knows that unless they lack the ability to observe and detect patterns, if so, that's an illness for an MD to diagnose. All right, now we got to get all mean. If they can't refute the pattern, the proof, the years of TV and movies exposed to mostly white screen audiences, rehash tropes of black actors and actresses, those same viewers move to toe the line. Statement two, why does it have to be about race? Stop playing the race card. Don't believe me? Look no further than recent TV history. You don't have to even go that far back. Persons of interest, Josh Carter, Taraji B. Henson, not invited to do magazine shoots. The Vampire Diaries, Bonnie Bennett, Kat Graham, she's still alive on the show. Um, Sleepy Hollow, Abby Mills, Nicole Bahari, not invited to do DVD commentary. The Flash, Iris West, Candace Panton, she's still alive on her show. I use two dead characters and two living characters just for equality's sake, but all of these black actresses were publicly and racially attacked by white viewers for their respective shows, and you can still find those tweets and posts today. Yet not one white writer of episodes of these shows came to their defense and said to their white audiences, um, to their white viewers that what you're doing and saying is disgusting. Instead, the writers of those shows responded by pushing the black actors to the back, limiting their screen time, or just plain killing them off, saying sacrifice is much more a sanctity. Maybe they come back, maybe they don't, but these comments scream stop making it about race. This is much longer, so I'll paraphrase. Um, she left because of the way things were going. She was trying to be polite when she said it was due to creative tension. It was reported recently that that was her reply at an appearance at a college event, kind of like when Sleepy Hollow let Orlando Jones go and they acted like he wanted to leave. However, Orlando Jones is brutally honest and simply told the fans the truth that they basically hired him for Sleepy Hollow, then changed the premise of the show when he spoke up and they fired him. Then they acted like they didn't know why they wouldn't welcome him back. Um, Tom Mison literally required a lighter workload on the show, but he's still alive. I wonder why. So just pointing out differences between Tom Mison and their treatments. He's the lead of the show. They say without him, it wouldn't make sense. They say try to appease them by saying but they could do to Crane what they're suggesting be done with Abby, put his soul in the body of another British white guy with a wig and blue eyes. Don't say that you won't like the replies. Don't say that though. You won't like the replies that you get. Bottom line, stop pretending you don't see what's happening for years. It makes you look dishonest. Oh, and learn your own patterns. The she doesn't need a love interest. She's so strong for that, or they're better off as friends, or the they don't match, and the I never liked her, I don't know why, has been said by the well, I can't say I'm racist crowd for years. Literally the exact words in articles on buses and trains. If someone is running and they get hit by a car, only a fool says the reason that they got hit is because they were running. A wise person would ask, why were they running or what were they running from? If you forget to ask those questions when the runner exiting actor is black or other, but then remember to ask that when the exiting actor is white or LGBTQ. Well, I'll let you conclude why that is. That was a lot, but honestly, that pretty much wraps up um the overall feeling of Abby Mills being sidelined like she was or being treated like she was. And then we did find out Orlando Jones spoke with a Marine Ryan for her book Burn It Down. And he's asked about an incident where it's alleged that Nicole Bahari bit a hairdresser. So having the book goes, quote, having been around Bahari all day, Jones was suspicious, rather. He told me that in his opinion, no physical altercation could have occurred without someone seeing or noticing. A couple of gossip sites ran the story about this alleged incident during the show's first season run, and subsequently Jones was asked about it during an interview. He told me his reply ran along the lines, he did not know where that stupid rumor came from, but he did not believe it was true. He added that after the interview, a Fox PR person, I'll call her Kelly, asked him to never respond to those kind of questions about the incident again. And the hairdresser, I don't know if her book drops. I don't believe the book mentioned her name. But I believe they said they were also having like a book come out to tell their side. Um, so we see rumors speculating about Nicole Bahari from the get-go in season one. I remember when those articles ran. We see how fans have perceived her to be treated. And honestly, as a young, creative at the time, it was a little harsh to see her go from that. And I think one of the biggest reasons is because one, and I've said it before, Lucifer, Fox's Lucifer, you can really thank Sleepy Hollow for that. It's same plot. Same plot, just angels and demons. A white British Tom and a detective, Chloe Decker. Um, he's literally mythology, reincarnate, and she has to, you know, be brought into believing that, and that takes forever. But more than anything, um, the X-Files, Abby Mills and Ichabod Crane are the most Scully Mulder variants to ever Scully and Mulder variant. And truly, would you say these things about Scully and Mulder? Now, there are people who do not ship them, but again, Chloe and Lucifer, um, as far as like shipping Chloe and Lucifer, same plot. So if you ship Chloe and Lucifer, you know, not shipping. You can say, oh, but their chemistry, but it's personal preference. But Mulder and Scully, there are people who don't ship them, but also there are people who do. And it's like, would you say that about them? Truly. Out of all the variations that, shows, formats that follow X-Files, Abby Mills and Ichabod Crane were the most Scully variants, Scully Mulder variants to ever Scully Mulder variant. And it's unfortunate that this took time away from her, as she claims. As far as, because I'm already at 30 minutes, so now we have to kick it in overdrive. As far as Orlando Jones leaving, he was doing a lot of promotion for the show. You can go back to his like Instagram way down. He was all types of promotional. He was captain of SSI Ickaby, and perhaps that wasn't liked by the writers who didn't want to fully commit to Ickaby, but would use the Ickaby hashtag when they wanted to get that viewership. Ickaby is their ship name, by the way. Um, After the success of season one, because I believe season one was renewed for a second season, after the airing of its like third or fourth episode, I believe. It was successful. Kooky. I'm not saying it didn't have its flaws, but it was successful. Something fresh. And so after the success, he's like, okay, well, can I get a pay grump? He tells this to Marine Ryan, and they basically kind of deny him. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I want to go, but so him dying in a blaze of glory, in the mid-season finale, I believe, was like his idea. Andy Cho, not me mixing their names. John chose Andy, who had an unrequited crush on Abby. Um, there is a level of humanity in him, even if he is aligned with Moloch. He's doing what he has to protect Abby. He says that to her. So I can't fully not rock with that. As far as like being a romantic love interest, perhaps he played, I don't know if like the unrequited love interest is like a stereotype for Asian men, but the notion that, she never saw him that way could play into that. It really just depends. They didn't really go enough into it. And then he's written out at the start of like season two. We don't see this man again. Jenny Mills, there is rumor again in the Marine Ryan book Burn It Down that although it was already noted that Abby was going to have a sibling, she notes her sister in episode one, that Lindy Greenwood was brought in to low-key be a replacement for Nicole Bahari, and then she became her sister. Um, she is allowed more depth, I believe. She gets to have all types of romances with Holly, with Joe. She gets to be loved. She gets to be badass and loved, rather. Um, she's not, I don't think she's all that bad, but after, what is learned about Abby, I can't say. I do also know that there are rumors that when they were going on their tangents, the writers about we can kill any kind of character we want to kill, she was liking these kind of comments. So there is rumor that there was a little nastiness between her and Nicole Bahari. That's just rumor. That is just rumor. I do not know. Um, I will really kind of stop there, and maybe we'll talk about a couple more in my conclusion, my overview. But right now, that final comment that I read is really like the overarching issue a lot of people had with the show, and it stems from the treatment of Nicole Bahari and Abby Mills. So, in this world where anything is possible, where if your leads get sick, you could have an episode where there is a body swap. They were talking about body swap. And Xena Warrior Princess, when she got injured, she swapped places with Callisto. And so now Gabrielle has to work with their antagonist, and it creates an interesting complex. You could have had that, if you hadn't sidelined Frank, you could have had that Jenny and Frank centered. Or, I like bringing Joe in, but I don't know if he was in just then. I think it was Holly at that point, and Holly took away screen time from Jenny. Jenny doesn't have to know everything, but oftentimes, Holly's inventions not inventions, but his trinkets that he has doesn't work. And we see this in, the Heartless episode, they don't work, and he's not as knowledgeable, but it's just one episode, but still. Um, you could have had that, you know, any kind of characters. You could have Jenny pair with, you could have a flashback episode where we see Jenny. So many things to do, and this is where we are. This is the knowledge that we know about the environment of Sleepy Hollow and, the treatment on screen. So I will stop there. Um, and we will pick it back up with episode 13, which will round out this series and talk about my overall questions and answering those questions. So, with that said, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Also, leave comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts and opinions. Did you like the show? Um, what were your thoughts about Abby's death? Be respectful. We can have a conversation with one another, but only if we are respectful. But definitely leave likes, leave comments. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and stick around for the epic conclusion of this 13-part series.